Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to eSports Report, presented by the Xbox One, official console of Major League Gaming. Benson and Puckett at the desk for today's show, getting ready for some Pro League action, but during the commercial break,
yes,
we got some breaking news for you guys.
The emails confirmed it, guys. We know who is going to be the fourth on Epsilon tonight.
We do.
Well, actually, there's two people added to the lineup. First, let's announce the substitute, Quavo Kenny, a.k.a. YRN Kivo.
Yeah.
Is added as a substitute to this lineup. But the player we think who will be joining Epsilon for their matchup is going to be Parasite, who is going to be brought over in a trade with Optic Gaming.
Yes, so Swanee ends up on OG's bench. Probably not going to see him play any games there. It's just kind of like a, hey, you know, can you just trade just for the sake of trading? But Parasite on Epsilon, it's an interesting one. When we were kind of talking about it, he was the one player which kind of stood out as would kind of make some sense. Like,
yeah.
it does
not
make sense.
Not on a Pro League team right now.
Right.
Strong AR.
It's just the attitude. How much of a factor is that? Because now he's joining a losing team, which to me makes that whole thing even worse. He is one player that when he loses has like a temper tantrum of like a 3-year-old.
Didn't we always say though that this team needed an emotional leader?
There's an emotional leader, and then there's like a...
So, I mean, Parasite has burned 1,000 bridges. This is one he hasn't yet. And I wonder
he's been on Epsilon before, ironically.
I wonder if he realizes that, though, playing alongside Nagafen and Remy. Like, you're playing with runners-up from a world championship event.
I feel like in his mind, he's still... Oh, you're playing with a world champion.
World champion, runner-ups. Pretty good squad here on paper.
It's a great squad.
Honestly, I think this is a great fit. If Parasite can just, you know, be positive in the communication from the get-go.
I'm curious to see if this is a permanent trade or if it's just a, hey, we have a really horrible evening of games. We want to at least try and split them. Come play with this real quick. Because there's nothing really which we've seen which indicated, you know, Parasite speaking to the guys over at Epsilon. Like, you rarely see them kind of tweet each other. It's not like a friendly thing. I haven't seen them play 8s together that often. Like, I don't think they've teamed together in a 2K or a 5K.
How did Parasite even end up on Optic Gaming's bench? Because I remember he was picked up by ISO, right? And
so what happened was, when Kama was being hit off, OG traded full Parasite to use as a sub. And then all of a sudden, Kama got back on, and they're like, oh, we don't need you. And he was like, oh.
All right.
So they just kind of had him sitting there on the bench, which is kind of a good position. You know, you have a big power position of, hey, we have Parasite, one of the top free agents, probably the biggest free agent right now. It's just... how does he work with a team?
Might work out this time.
I'm more curious to find out who Quavo Kenny is. He has, I think, 35,000 pro points. Literally plucked out of absolute nowhere. Never heard of his name before.
Never cast him.
Never well, unless if that's his gamer tag, I've definitely never cast him. Maybe this is just his...
Yeah, Max was saying his gamer tag on Game Battles is YRN Kivo. K-E-V-O. I was like, I can't ever remember casting that name.
Maybe it's just someone who's really good friends with, like, Remy?
Yeah, I mean, Remy and Nagafen brought on Royalty as well, right? We had no idea who Royalty was.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
This is going to be a move to watch, guys. Is Parasite in the starting lineup? I think so. We'll find out tonight.
Probably. I think you're right. But speaking of tonight's games, we should move on and take a look at some of those games in a little bit more depth. Starting off with Optic Nation in their first game against TCM. You kind of dubbed it as the rematch from Gfinity. For everything you saw there, was the final result fair in your mind, or could it have gone either way?
I think Nation could have definitely beaten TCM probably 6 of the 10 matchups. I think TCM, though, could have stolen the 4, and I think Nation had more potential to go further, if that makes sense. Like, there was more explosive play out of TCM, but then just to match their explosiveness, they had awful games where, like, TP was putting up 14 kills. Like, they just... I don't know. TCM is so volatile right now. I think Nation is the stronger bet if you're looking to play a safe bet here. But don't be shocked if TCM wins this one.
I mean, Gfinity was the Group D pool play, and it was to see who came out first in the seed. It goes all the way to that map 5. There's an interesting little kind of tidbit of information we have here. Biolab Hardpoint at Gfinity was map number 1. And if you remember, that was one where Optic Nation came out and just... it didn't even look like TCM had ever seen the map before.
Have you ever heard of a 70-point club?
Yeah, 250 to 67 was the final score. Now, Biolab Hardpoint is going to be map number 4 this evening if it goes the distance, which I think to give TCM some credit, I think we should see them at least take one map. I can't see it being a 3-0 blowout.
No.
But considering how well ON played that map, I think you have to give that one to Optic Nation. So I think ON either win this 3-1 or it goes to a Game 5 again. And even if it does go to a Game 5, I think S&D, Optic Nation just looks stronger.
I didn't look at the notes here for this map, but if we're going to see comeback Game 3, this is a 3-0.
3-0. Oh, wow. You're gonna, that brutal?
Optic Nation may be the best team
they did look good
outside the top 2 at comeback uplink. Last time I cast them, they finished the game in 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Against ISO.
That's pretty. I mean, ISO have been known to get blown out in uplink comebacks, 20-0 against OG.
But Nation's just, Optic Nation's just so good on comeback. It's Moch's strength in holding down glass, and then the other 3 are just so good at getting that.
I feel like Miracle's just being so aggressive, pushing into glass. It helps Moch out so much, and they were the 2 standout plays from Gfinity. Looking at TCM, though, currently on a 4-match losing streak. Trying to turn that around as well. They want massive revenge from what happened at Gfinity. They could have come out the pool rather than crashing out and not even making it to bracket.
They didn't make prize money at Gfinity.
It's pretty bad. Currently have a 37% map win percentage. Next worst is Epsilon in last place. So that kind of tells you a little bit about how this matchup should go down. Honestly, if I'm a betting man, putting all my money, I'm going all in on Optic Nation.
All of it.
All of it.
I'm going to take my $100.
Okay.
Put 72 on Nation. Put the other ones in my pocket.
I like it.
Just in case,
Very
man.
clever.
Just in case.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some savings. As well, in action tonight, of course, will be Epsilon. Bottom of the Pro League as it is right now. It's not looking good by any means.
It's looking great, Ben. They just got a new 4th today.
Yay. If they were going up against a team in the bottom 4, great. Maybe they can scrape a win. They're going against, again, Elevate. In form, playing well, picking up a lot of wins.
It could happen. Elevate hasn't played as a squad all weekend. You got some players I saw.
They're on a 6-match winning streak. 6.
Infused beat them. That tells me anyone can beat Elevate. I mean, it wasn't their full lineup.
Team.
It wasn't their full lineup, but
if it was their full lineup, would Infused still have beaten them?
Could they? Yes. Would they? Probably not.
Okay.
Infused is pretty good. I feel like all you need is one player to shut down Slacked and Classic. When Slacked wasn't there, Classic also disappeared, and then they lost the games. Replays played solid through and through. Slasher had a pretty damn good
Did you see some of his stats?
As well.
Replays finished with, I think it was a 1.6. A 1.6K, like, where did that even come from? Number 1 in S&D, was, I think his S&D was a 1.5, and he had, like, the most amount of bombs planted as well.
It's pretty good.
It was almost as if Replay said, hey, this isn't my full team, so how everyone thinks I'm OBJ, guess what? I'm now going Super Slayer.
He got to play with the Bow. That's really all it was.
True.
Didn't have to run the sub anymore.
I think, he's good, man. I think people kind of sleep on his ability sometimes. Just write him as just pure OBJ. Nah, man, he can drop numbers when he wants. But Epsilon versus Elevate. Elevate won the first matchup 3-2. It was one of Epsilon's closer ones.
Epsilon's 1-8. 1-9 tonight, boys.
1-9?
Maybe 1-10.
I think it fully depends on how does Parasite fit in. Because Parasite is a player who can just explode and just be like, hey, we're winning this game, and just comes out and will clutch you a 1v4 out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, we're going to win this game. Like, if it goes to a Game 5, I think Parasite should be a player to keep your eye out for. Season 1, Season 2, S&D MVP. Like, very, very talented when it comes to Search and Destroys. It's just, how is Epsilon going to react to the addition of Parasite? Are they going to come on and say, all right, we needed a vocal leader, you're a vocal leader from day one? Or is it he's going to come on and think that's his role, where in actual fact everyone else isn't really comfortable with that because he's new to the team? I think that's something which requires a little bit of time to figure out, and that's one thing Epsilon
What if Parasite plays a little bit more like Faceno did, where he ran the Bow very strong on a few maps, but then chose to run sub the rest of the time. But Swanee was not that guy that you wanted to throw in a sub role.
But in terms of the actual leadership, the decision-making, like, is Parasite going to come in and say, this is my role? And kind of Remy's going to sit there and Knife's going to be like, yo, we didn't want you to change the way we were going to play the game. Because that's something when he joined ISO, Dita was like, you're trying to make us change how we want to play the game. Like, that's something we're not comfortable with. So that's something really to keep your eyes out for. I would check out a couple of the player streams and kind of see how they're talking and see how it's going. And I think that will tell you a little bit about Epsilon's next couple of games. Right?
We'll keep an eye on him. Next matchup, though, we talked about how well Replays was playing. Well, he's back with his full lineup tonight. Slasher and Replays, joined by Hook and Temp. And this one, I'm really pumped to see the full Denial roster. We talked about how many games they've won. They have a real challenge against Optic Nation here.
Yeah, they could actually put them as a first place tie. But as you mentioned, Denial massively on form. 7-1, their record in the league. And people just thought they were going to be a sleeping team, and they're not. They are a team which can definitely contend and look very, very good. Only loss was to, ironically, TCM in a Game 5. How that happened, I'm not really sure, but still, if Denal goes 2-0 tonight, they retake first place. New maps.
New maps, give them a tough time.
Well, you could blame that. I think one of the big things to note here is Optic Nation have already played a game at this point. So ON play at the very beginning of the evening against TCM. That's A confidence boost map, and it's B, you should be, winning that pretty comfortably and coming in warm. Denal won't have had a competitive match. Yes, they will be online, they'll be practicing, they'll be warming up, but it won't prepare you for that. So that first hard point is so important. If Optic Nation take that, Denal could maybe have some trouble in this series.
Optic Nation was looking pretty fierce. Uplink is a good strength of theirs. Denial also looking pretty strong in Uplink. So I think that's going to be one of the key maps in there. Look out for Game 3. Next matchup, Optic Gaming taking on Isolation Esports. ISO has always been a threat in Search and Destroy. Havoc, one of the most explosive players. Silly and Lacefield really showing off their sniper work in some of the previous matches that I've cast. So you get a map like Riot, you get a map like Skyrise. I think Optic Gaming might have a tough time in the Search and Destroys. And you mentioned it's all going to come down to ISO being able to steal a hard point. They're not winning Uplink. You're losing Uplink.
I mean, they need to steal something. And they managed to win a hard point when they first met up. They lost ultimately 3-1, which was the super ironic thing. Because I remember I said that casting, I was like, ISO just won a hard point. Oh my god, we may have a series. They then immediately lose the S&D. They lose the uplink. They lose the next hard point. You sat there going, come on, man.
Come on.
Like, you did the hard work. You took a hard point off OG. They were unbeaten at Gfinity in hard point, which for me, I look at that whole series, I'm like, ISO is not winning a hard point against Optic right now. They need to win both the S&Ds and pray uplink. I think that's the only thing they really can do, because for me, they don't stack up well enough to
If
win.
I'm Optic Gaming, I am banning Lacefield's host. Really? On host, he was dropping 40+ every respawn.
Wow.
Again, it wasn't against the caliber of Optic Gaming, but Lacefield was dropping numbers. If you pull a small range map like Detroit, maybe Compound, I think he's a guy on host who could help steal a hardpoint victory.
Something to really look out for. In terms of OG as a whole, from when you were at Gfinity, what was really going wrong with their uplink? Because I noticed they played comeback a lot, which is their worst uplink.
Yeah.
I think that kind of inflated the stats of, hey, this was their record in uplink. Didn't really see Biolab that much. I think it was only in group stages that we saw that map. Then we saw them play Detroit. I mean, against like a really talented team, are they far behind in your mind? Or is it just kind of like, they can't compete. It's 50-50 somewhat.
They're not as scrappy as some other teams are. Like, a lot of other teams are just able to make plays. Optic Gaming has some of the best movement. Like, Karma showcased it on Detroit. Like, he basically was running past 4 alive defenders and was somehow able to get a shot off.
He's just like, yeah, but
the shot fell short, but just the fact that he was able to move and be able to pull that off while taking fire from all different directions, I was really impressed. I think they might be a little too structured at times, and if the plan isn't going and we're not going to get the dunk, why even try for it? I feel like you see some other teams that they would rather give up spawns for a moment and try and hit a one-pointer, and at the end, those one-pointers add up.
They do, especially when you're missing those one-pointers, too. That's another really big thing to mention. Krim in Pro League said he doesn't feel like he's very good at 1 points. Ball is life, the exact quote, loves his 2-point plays, which was actually super ironic when they went to overtime with Vitality, and Krim was left with, I think it was like 6 seconds on the clock to go for that 1-point play. Everyone here in the office was like, is he going to get it? Is he going to go for 2? Like, what's going to happen? So I think that's something as well to look out for. But in that matchup against ISO tonight, should be a breeze.
Shouldn't be too tough, especially if you pull a comeback. However, if you get beat by ISO, who got beat by Optic Nation in 3 minutes 20 seconds on comeback, you should just stop playing that map. Just forfeit it, move on to Game 4.
Information. The game after that one, though, will be Denal versus TK. At this point, Denal's going to be warmed up in the evening. TK
It's our 9:30 matchup.
I don't know, man. Like, Denal won the first matchup 3-2. I can't see this one going to a Game 5. I think TK, after such an abysmal performance in Gfinity, they're going to come back, and I think this is where you really see how good of a team TK is mentally. They're either going to come back, forget about what happened, and be like, all right, let's focus, let's get a win tonight, or they're going to come back and be like, guys, like, we suck every time we go abroad. Like, what's going on? The heads are going to be down, and they won't be able to even win a map against Denal.
Yeah, as we look at our 9:30 matchups, this TK Denial one, I mean, TK doesn't have a Slayer. That's what I learned this weekend. Nameless drops 40s online. Didn't see it on LAN. Don't want to call him out specifically, but then you saw the Sharp try and step up, but no one was really able to finish above 34 kills comfortably, consistently. You looked at kind of the leaderboard at top Slayers. nowhere in the top 10 did I see anyone from Team Caliber.
That's definitely something you need.
You need that powerhouse player that just gets the job done, especially against a squad that is so good at slaying like Denial is. I'm saying that one is Denial through and through. But then we got the last match of the night, Optic Gaming versus Epsilon. And this is one, Ben, where if I have $100 in chips, I'm moving all 100 over onto Optic Gaming. There's none in my pocket left over.
If Epsilon somehow win this, I will do an ESR in the clown suit. I don't know what else to say. There is that much of a chance.
I will approve that expense.
Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not. Like, the only piece of notes I have in the script is there a chance? The answer is no. There's just not. This is the team at the bottom of the Pro League going up against a team that wants revenge.
Maybe they were jet lagged and they fall asleep map 2 and don't wake up till map 5.
I mean, even then, I think Epsilon could still throw that one away.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed there, but I still said that I think Optic Gaming could win 3v4.
They could.
With my math.
Maybe
all right.
win 2v4.
Caster predictions, guys. We went all in. Maven, Mr. X, Ben, and I all putting in our thoughts. And we should note, Maven is still in last place, guys. He is holding down the bottom at 31. He's got some big upset wins. He just doesn't pick the big games right.
He has. It's worth mentioning Matt sitting with 36 points. Is that me and you 37?
Holy crap, are we all going the same teams tonight?
We all went exactly the same teams.
This is so boring.
It's pretty... Do you want to change? Because guess what? You can't because you didn't submit your change.
I was actually looking.
Into the commissioner.
Where would you change?
I wouldn't. There is nothing I would change. You can't... I think tonight is...
I think your only match is the top one. The only one that I see an upset coming is if TCM is pissed off from this past weekend, Aches is back on host somehow, and they catch fire against Optic Nation. Nation's been up and down. I am never willing to put all my eggs in one Nation basket.
This is true, but I think after this weekend, they're coming off kind of opposite to what TCM are. It's like, hey, let's prove to everyone we are actually this good. Let's just obliterate TCM real quick and just stay on that first page of the Pro League. That's really important for them. Third place finish was unbelievable. I don't think really anyone expected that. Elevate versus Epsilon, you'd be daft to go with Epsilon there. Optic Nation versus Denial. I just can't see ON beating Denial. I'm sorry. OG versus ISO. That should go to OG. Denial versus T. They're all very obvious games. Like, if any of these don't go that way, it's an upset. Simple as that. Every single one of us has gone for the exact same pick, which I don't think has actually happened before in caster predictions.
I like it. Maven has finally wised up. He is no longer going for Epsilon every time until they win, because they got to win. All right, guys, we're going to commercial break. When we return, though, we'll teach you how to Vulcan. Vulcan.com, the fantasy site, is where you want to pick your players for tonight's matchup. We'll tell you who we think is going to go off, who might bust, and who's going to be some of the X factors of the evening. We'll be right back.